As the 2024 election season reaches its fever pitch, Donald Trump is once again crisscrossing the country, staging rallies that draw both fervent supporters and seething critics. These gatherings are a signature feature of Trump's political playbook, a grand display of power designed to project authority, loyalty, and spectacle. However, as the crowds roar and the fireworks flare, a darker reality emerges behind the scenes. A disturbing pattern has taken shape, one that reveals something not merely of political strategy, but of character. Donald Trump doesn't just use cities for his rallies. He exploits them, leaving behind unpaid bills, stranded supporters, and a growing list of communities grappling with the financial fallout of his campaigns. Since his first presidential run in 2016, at least 4 cities and 1 county have been left holding the bag for unpaid security, transportation, and first responder costs associated with Trump's events. While the former president boasts of the money he's raised for his political and legal battles, a troubling amount of unpaid bills, now estimated at more than $750,000, casts a shadow over his campaign. But why does Trump repeatedly stiff cities that provide him with police protection and logistical support? Why does he seem to take pride in not paying those who work for him? And what does this reveal about the man who millions continue to support? In this video, we delve into Trump's pattern of behavior, exploring whether his refusal to pay is a power play or something far more sinister. Is this a calculated strategy of control, or does it speak to a deeper pathology, a disturbing psychopathy that drives him to take pleasure in watching others suffer? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to reaching 1,000 subscribers, but we can't do it without you. So if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe right now. And if you're already subscribed, give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment to let me know your thoughts. All right, let's dive right into it. Trump's pattern of stiffing cities, a national problem. The cities that host Trump's rallies often find themselves saddled with enormous bills after the fact. Costs associated with police presence, traffic management, emergency medical services, and other forms of public safety. For example, Erie, Pennsylvania, a city that Trump has visited multiple times in recent years, is still waiting for reimbursement. According to city officials, Trump's campaign owes Erie more than $40,000 for his 2018 and 2023 events alone. And this is not an isolated incident. El Paso, Texas, is seeking reimbursement of over $569,000 for a rally Trump held in the city. Spokane, Washington, has outstanding bills totaling $65,000, and Missoula County, Montana, is owed at least $113,000. In Mesa, Arizona, another $65,000 remains unpaid. These cities, many of which are far from being economic powerhouses, are now left to foot the bill for Trump's displays of political dominance. But the financial costs are not just about dollars and cents. For many of these cities, the unpaid bills represent a deeper sense of betrayal. These communities often face strained budgets, and when the former president, who boasts of his immense wealth, leaves them high and dry, the impact can be devastating. Public services, already stretched thin, must bear the burden of Trump's refusal to pay. The psychology of nonpayment. Does Trump take pleasure in screwing people over? What is perhaps most troubling about Trump's pattern of nonpayment is the possibility that it's not merely a matter of oversight or negligence. Instead, it appears to be a deliberate act, one driven by a pathological need for power and control. In interviews and speeches, Trump has repeatedly bragged about not paying contractors who don't meet his standards. He often couches these admissions in terms of tough negotiation or demanding excellence, but the underlying message is clear. Trump derives satisfaction from making people beg for money they are owed, only to deny them. This behavior is not new. Long before his political career, Trump was notorious in the business world for stiffing contractors and workers. In 2016, Kellyanne Conway, then Trump's campaign manager, candidly admitted that Trump had built his empire on the backs of little guys, contractors and small business owners whom he refused to pay after they had completed work for him. It's a pattern that has followed him from his days as a real estate mogul to his time in the White House and now into his post-presidency political life. This behavior goes beyond simple financial mismanagement. Trump's refusal to pay, whether it's cities, contractors, or employees, seems to be rooted in a deeper psychological need for dominance. He relishes the power imbalance that comes with withholding payment. By forcing people in cities to beg for their money, Trump positions himself as the ultimate arbiter of their financial well-being. And when he says no, it's a power play, one that brings him immense satisfaction. The joy of watching people suffer. A clinical perspective. Many psychologists who have studied Trump's behavior argue that his refusal to pay is not just a tactic, but a manifestation of a deeper psychopathy. Psychopathy is characterized by a lack of empathy, a disregard for the feelings and needs of others, and a tendency to manipulate and exploit people for personal gain. Trump's delight in stiffing workers in cities, his bragging about it, and his indifference to the harm he causes all point to a disturbing personality profile. According to clinical psychologist Dr. John Gartner, who has written extensively about Trump's mental health, Trump exhibits many of the traits associated with psychopathy. He gets joy out of screwing people over, Gartner said in an interview. He likes to watch people suffer, to see them in distress. It's about power for him. He wants people to be dependent on him, to come to him begging for what they need, and then he can decide whether or not to give it to them. That gives him a sense of control, and it's what drives a lot of his behavior. This theory is supported by Trump's own words. In speeches, he often jokes about not paying people who work for him. In one infamous instance, he told a crowd that he refused to pay a contractor who set up the stage for his rally because the work was subpar. The crowd laughed and cheered, but the underlying message was chilling. Trump takes pleasure in withholding payment, even when it causes harm. Blaming others, the Secret Service excuse. When confronted with the issue of unpaid bills, the Trump campaign has been quick to deflect blame. A campaign official recently told NBC News that questions about local law enforcement and first responder costs should be directed to the Secret Service. This excuse, however, falls flat. While the Secret Service is responsible for coordinating security at presidential events, the costs associated with local police and emergency services are the responsibility of the campaign. Trump's refusal to pay these costs is not a matter of bureaucratic confusion. It's a deliberate choice. This blame-shifting tactic is a hallmark of Trump's leadership style. Whether it's failing to pay cities, contractors, or even his own legal fees, Trump consistently finds someone else to take the fall. In the case of the Secret Service, he is attempting to use a government agency as a scapegoat for his own financial irresponsibility. A history of exploitation. Trump's long record of not paying workers. Trump's refusal to pay cities for their services is part of a broader pattern that stretches back decades. Throughout his career, Trump has been sued numerous times by contractors and workers who claim they were not paid for their labor. In one famous case, Trump hired a group of Polish workers to demolish a building in Manhattan in the 1980s. The workers, many of whom were undocumented, were paid far below minimum wage, if they were paid at all. When the workers sued, Trump denied any wrongdoing, but the case dragged on for years before being settled out of court. Another well-documented example is Trump's treatment of contractors who worked on the construction of the Trump Taj Mahal in Atlantic City. Many small businesses that provided goods and services for the casino were never fully paid, leading some to bankruptcy. One contractor, Stephen Jenkins, who installed toilet partitions in the casino, was left with a claim for over $231,000 when Trump's business filed for bankruptcy. Jenkins received only $70,000, a fraction of what he was owed. For Jenkins and others like him, the financial hit was devastating. These stories are not anomalies. They are part of a consistent pattern in which Trump uses people for his own gain and then discards them when they are no longer useful. Whether it's contractors, employees, or entire cities, Trump's strategy is clear: exploit, profit, and leave others to clean up the mess. The cult of personality. Why do people cheer for their own exploitation? Perhaps the most perplexing aspect of Trump's behavior is the way his supporters continue to cheer him on, even as he brags about exploiting them. At rallies, Trump frequently tells stories of how he refuses to pay people who work for him, and the crowd responds with applause. It's a strange phenomenon, people clapping for a man who openly admits to cheating workers out of their wages. Psychologists have offered several explanations for this seemingly paradoxical behavior. One theory is that Trump supporters are drawn to his perceived strength and dominance. In a world that often feels chaotic and uncertain, Trump's refusal to play by the rules can be seen as a form of rebellion, a way of sticking it to the establishment. His supporters may also see themselves in Trump, identifying with his defiance of societal norms and his willingness to do whatever it takes to win. But there's a darker side to this adulation. Trump supporters may also be engaging in a form of self-deception, convincing themselves that Trump's behavior doesn't really affect them. They cheer when he says he won't pay overtime or when he brags about stiffing contractors, perhaps because they believe they will never be on the receiving end of his exploitation. But the reality is that Trump's refusal to pay doesn't just hurt contractors or cities. It hurts everyone who depends on the services those workers and cities provide. Donald Trump's pattern of stiffing cities and contractors is not just a matter of financial irresponsibility. It's a window into his character. His refusal to pay is not an oversight or a mistake. It's a deliberate choice, one rooted in a pathological need for power and control. Trump doesn't just avoid paying bills. He takes pleasure in it, relishing the power he holds over those who are left begging for what they are owed. As Trump continues his march toward the 2024 election, the cities he visits will once again face the difficult decision of whether to host his rallies, knowing that they may be left with enormous bills they will never be paid. And as Trump supporters cheer him on, they may not realize that they, too, are being exploited by a man who takes joy in watching others suffer.